Have we got the conversation that will set you up for the weekend? It's going to be a fabulous conversation. I'm absolutely sure about it. I love to travel, and I've been absolutely frustrated that I haven't been able to travel all of last year and well into this year. In all probability, we're going to go past 2021 without me, at least, being able to travel. But then it got me thinking, if I was to travel from Mumbai to Alibagh for the weekend and I would have spent a certain amount of money, why don't I set that money aside and save it up so that I can go to somewhere else? And so the tagline that I have for you is, why not go to Venice instead of Alibagh in 2022? To speak about a few options then that you can consider once things open up and the pandemic settles down is G Nivedith, travel blogger, and he's got the most interesting Aston or the most interesting designation that you can ever come across. He calls himself Chief Traveling Officer at Macro Traveler. Thank you so much, Nivedith, for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Alex. Pleasure.
So, you've traveled to over 30 countries, and I'm sure that you've traveled to some of those countries multiple times because you like going to them.
Absolutely.
It must have been a little bit frustrating for you this last couple of years.
Yes, in fact, like you said, I've been traveling almost for a decade now, and I get paid to travel. That's my job. So last few years, I've been traveling extensively, almost 300 days a year. And all of a sudden, since March 2020, I've been indoors. I've not been getting an opportunity like everyone else to step out as well. Trying to be safe, but waiting for the future when things get better. Travel restrictions get better, then I think I should be back in my game, traveling again as well.
I do want to take some pointers from you though. I set the conversation up saying that you would give us the best tips and tricks as to where to go, assuming of course that we can save up for this year and perhaps maybe a few months of next year. We can plan for summer 2022. What are the top destinations according to you that my viewers can consider?
Based on my personal experience, because I have traveled quite a lot of places across the world, my top three favorite destinations, which I would suggest if someone is planning, maybe after 2 years of long no vacation or like without any travel, I think they should look at a dream destination or dream location. So I would suggest maybe Japan as number one. Second would be Maldives, and third is Austria. I'm sure most of them, when you say travel, would generally look at Southeast Asian countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam. So these are easier to travel because there are better connectivity. There is, again, the cost is much cheaper when you go to these kind of countries. But when you look at destinations which are exotic and generally expensive, these don't come as the first preferences for destination to travel. But because you're saving your travel money for the last couple of years, like from 2020, I'm sure 21 as well, people wouldn't be able to travel freely like you can do. So that is going to help people to save up and travel to a dream location, like I mentioned. So Japan, I had been there a couple of years back, and trust me, even though I spent 2 weeks out there, that's going to be multiple trips I'm going to plan out there. So it's a destination which changes every season. Like when you go to Japan, you have a very different during cherry blossom. When you go during autumn or winters, it's very different. So it's a place which generally is expensive. One of the top most expensive cities in the world is Tokyo. But with you saving up money with easily, if you ask me, with maybe 1.5 to 2 lakhs, you can do a trip for easily a week or so in Japan. And I'm sure that will be worth your experience. And then second would be, like you would have seen, half of India and half of the world is right now in Maldives, because that is one of the only destinations which is available for people to travel. In fact, Dubai and Maldives are the only places right now where people are easily able to travel with the travel bubble. But I would say do wait for some more time and things get better. But when things are better and travel restrictions are out, you should look at Maldives as well, which is generally a very expensive destination. So I would suggest plan a trip easily with 1.5 to 2 lakhs of budget for two people in a week, 4 to 5 days. I would suggest to plan it because generally Maldives also is very expensive. Travel is cheaper from India to Maldives, but local travel is quite expensive as well in Maldives, especially seaplane and all of that. But if you plan in advance, you can do this trip at 1.5 to 2 lakhs. I just went to Maldives a couple of weeks back and had a great time as well. And then coming to my last destination, I would say is Austria. So people obviously would like to do a Euro trip. So when you say Europe, it's always France or Germany and Switzerland. But Austria is I would say, a little more untouched country. But I think it blew my mind when I was there. In fact, the kind of nature it has, and people are very friendly. The whole population of Austria is lesser than that of Bangalore. So that really, like you would hardly see people out there. You can enjoy, you can have a great time. And again, that's another destination where you can travel in 1.5 to 2 lakhs for a week trip. So these are my top three destinations I would suggest, Alex.
Nivedith, you've laid it out very beautifully for us, and I think our viewers have gotten a glimpse also of some of your experiences. Let's talk about this just a little bit more, and then maybe we'll talk about the financial aspect after that. If you talk about Japan, you said it, it's one of the most expensive places to go to, but when in the year is the best time to go to Japan according to you?
So I just got an opportunity to go during the autumn, which generally the whole of Japan is having only orange and red, all different shades of colors out there. But if you ask, the peak season is generally cherry blossom, which you would have seen in lots of pictures. The whole country is filled with cherry blossom, which is right now the spring season. So that is the most the crowded or the high time. So Japan is a country, like I said, you can travel during any time of the year. Every time you travel, you get a different experience. So there is no good or bad time to travel to Japan, is what I have heard. And I'm looking forward to travel to the other seasons as well whenever I get an opportunity.
In terms of the food that you can get in Japan, though, Nivedith, what does one have to bear in mind?
So I'll give you two options because I'm a vegetarian. So generally when I travel to different countries, especially Asian countries, it gets really tough for me to get a hang on vegetarian food. But surprisingly, that notion was quite wrong because when I went to Japan, I really found out that they have quite a lot of vegetarian options, and even because they have Buddhism and Buddhist monasteries, they have quite a lot of veg options due to that. So I was quite surprised. And secondly, when you come to a general food culture in Japan, it's really different. Like most of us know, it's all raw meat, raw fish, in fact, seafood and all of that. So that is quite a delicacy for people. When you travel in Japan, you get to have the best of food, both on street food, and Japan actually has the maximum number of Michelin star restaurants. So you can have high-end experience and you can also have the roadside food, but both have its own charm and beauty.
Absolutely. I'm going to skip past Maldives because, as you mentioned, a lot of people are actually familiar with the Maldives. I'll go straight to Austria. Why Austria out of all the European countries that you could go to?
So personally, I have also done quite almost 80% of Europe, if I say so. But seeing all the countries, I'm sure, like you said, Maldives, everyone is familiar. I'm sure everyone is even familiar with the best countries in Europe. But Austria being a very small country, and when I visited there, again, a couple of years back, the experience was quite different. I really didn't have an expectation with this country, Austria, which is, again, a very small country. But the nature, landscape, people literally blew my mind. And also the place called Salzburg in Austria. So Salzburg actually is where Mozart, the famous musician, was born, and it's his birthplace. So you have lots of things to actually explore in Austria.